Hi everyone, welcome to class. My name's Claire and today I'm going to take you through a 45-minute Yin Flow class. So all you'll need for today's practice is a block if you have one, or you can use a few sturdy books piled up on top of each other. And if you've got a bolster, that's great as well, but if not, just grab onto a few pillows and we'll use that instead. So let's get started. Our beginning pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining bound angle pose. And we just bring our feet together, our knees come apart, and we just lay ourselves over the bolster if that feels comfortable for your spine. If not, you can just remove some of the pillows underneath you, or you can lay flat on your back as well. And once we're there, we'll just start with a body scan, starting at the face. And we'll bring our attention to the forehead and the eyebrows and just smooth all of that out with our focus. And bring your awareness to the muscles through the cheeks, lips, and just scanning through the face, using your internal focus to start smoothing out the tension. Relaxing all of those little muscles. And then once the face is feeling a lot more relaxed, bring your awareness down the back of the neck to the shoulders and the upper back. And just pause at those areas where you're feeling any sort of tension and use that focus to smooth everything out. Softening through each tiny little muscle. And then scanning your awareness down the arms to the fingertips. Continuing with the same process of tuning into those areas that are holding on to tension or gripping in any sort of way. And gradually, part by part, our body starts to find a sense of stillness. Scanning down the torso. And all the little bits of tension melting away from the body. Down through the hips. Down the legs. So gradually you arrive at your toes, and every part of your body should be feeling a lot more relaxed now. Melting back over the bolster. And from here we'll start to connect with our breath. And straight away we'll start to find more depth. So starting to lengthen out the inhales and the exhales. Arriving at a breath that feels quite a lot deeper, but it still feels like it's flowing through you quite comfortably with ease. So here, tuning into this deeper breath for about 3 more rounds. Start to move the fingertips and toes, bring movement back into the body. And we'll take a mental note to remember to bring this deeper breath through the entire practice. Roll over to your right side. Use your left hand to prop yourself up. And you can start sitting on your block or your books. or if you feel comfortable, you can sit straight on the floor. As you bring your feet together, if you feel any rounding moving into the lower back, that's when you know you need to get a little bit of height underneath the hips. But if you feel like you can sit there with a straight spine with quite a lot of ease, then you probably don't need that. And we'll grab onto our bolster, and you can do two things with it. Option one is to bring it over your knees, lift up through your belly and drape yourself forward over the bolster like this. Option two is to bring the bolster in between your legs like this and hug it in, and then just lean forward. And if you've got more books or another block, you could possibly just rest that there for a little bit of extra support as you fold forward. So just finding the most comfortable position for you. Just start to lean forward, just slowly, slowly moving towards your edge. We're going to be here for a few minutes. The reason that we hold yin postures a lot longer than other postures is because around the 2-minute mark, the muscles start to relax a lot more, and that means we start to get into opening our network of soft tissue or fascia a lot more. That's the white stuff that connects all of our muscles and our joints and pretty much it surrounds everything in our body. It's like this network that holds everything together in our entire body. So the yin practice is designed to get into that fascia a lot more deeply, and that's why we need to hold for as long as we do. So settling in here, closing your eyes if you haven't already, and just take your time melting forward towards your edge. And as you settle in here, first start to reconnect with that deeper breath. And also start to notice the sensations as you melt a little further forward. The whole time we're listening to the body's signals, so we know exactly where that edge is for us. We all have very unique bodies, different bone structures. Different backgrounds. And so any type of movement is going to look very different on different people. And your edge is that point where the sensation might be quite strong, but it's that point where, you know, if you go beyond it, it might be a really uncomfortable kind of stretch, or it might be that your body starts to give you signals, sensations that are telling you that you've gone too far. If you're practicing yoga, you should never ever injure yourself, because you should always be moving into the practice with this deep awareness of what's going on in our body, an awareness of where our edge is, and listen to that so we know when we need to pull back a little bit. It's this constant conversation. Sensations are telling you when you need to pull back a little bit, and they're also telling you when you start to become a lot more comfortable, when you can sink a little further, let go a little more. And the breath is often a really good guide, because if our breath starts to feel a little more strained, that's usually a signal that our body's now in stress mode and we need to pull back. that long, smooth, deep breathing the whole time. Starting to really find this deep sense of internal awareness now. Eyes closed, tuning in. Let's stay for about 5 more long, deep breaths. Three more breaths from here. Stay with it a little longer. And when you're ready, just very slowly coming out of it. It's really important when we come out of any yin posture that we just take our time. Allow everything to melt back into place. We'll just slowly get rid of our props for a moment. Kick the legs out in front of us. Give the legs a little bit of a shake. And then we'll just sit there for a moment, relaxing everything until there's this sense that all of that network of soft tissue has melted back into place and everything's feeling back to normal. We'll open our eyes. Stay there a little longer if you need to. But when you're ready to move, we're going to bring our legs out to the side and bend the knees slightly. Walk the hips from side to side until you feel your sit bones underneath you. And we're going to slide our hands down to catch onto our ankles. Bring the arms in front of the knees and just gently use the arms to press the knees open. And at the same time, we're pressing the base of the spine forward. Feeling our shoulders back, and we'll just hold there for 3 breaths. One last deep inhale. And exhale, empty the lungs completely. Before we come up, hands come to the heart, and we're going to move our legs. Knees roll to the right, and we start to twist through the spine. You can either just actively push into a twist from here, or you can bring the hands down to support. A bit of leverage to bring yourself around further, or just keeping the hands where they are. Slowly rolling through the center and bringing ourselves over to the other side. Actively pushing around into a twist, or bringing the hands down for a little support to take yourself around further. And let's do 2 more on each side. And activation. The muscles in our legs and our core to bring ourselves around. Once you've done 1 more on each side, I'll give you a choice of what you do next. So you can either bring the arms in front of the legs again and just slide the heels forward and just drape forward from here, rounding through the back. Or the other option is to straighten the legs. Maybe you can bring the hips forward a little bit more. And again, we can hug in the bolster and lean forward. And again, you can use your blocks or your books for a little bit of an anchor as you fold forward. And just taking your time, moving towards your edge. You don't need to push all the way to your destination straight away. So we've got about 3 minutes here. So plenty of time to get there, and it's way more important to take your time getting there so that you know exactly where your edge is than it is to push to your edge and then realize later, oh, hang on, the sensations are getting a little bit strong and I've maybe pushed myself a little bit too far too quickly. The moment we push ourselves too far, signals are sent to our brain that our body's stressed, and so the muscles sort of contract and hold on to the tension. They don't let go effectively. So that's why it's really important just to move really, really slowly. So settling in, taking your time, reconnect with your deep, even breathing. And this time, as you melt forwards and as you close your eyes and tune into the internal sensations, you might like to bring a little visualization into the practice. So as you inhale, visualize the breath moving into the lungs and visualize energy moving into the lungs and spreading beyond the lungs as you inhale. And as you exhale, visualize the tension that you're feeling melting away. Inhale, visualizing energy and vitality moving into the body. And exhale, visualizing the tension melting away. It's usually the exhale moment where most of the tension starts to release. So visualization is always a really nice little tool to aid that process that's happening. We're using this time as an opportunity to train our mind to remain focused and present. So every time your mind wanders off, that's okay, but just catch yourself as much as you can and keep bringing your awareness back to the breath and this visualization of inhale, energy and vitality moving into the body, and exhale, tension melting away. Or you could just purely focus on the sensations of the breath. Make it your own unique practice, but just choose one thing to keep your attention on. So we have about 10 more breaths from here. Check that the breath is still deep. Stay for 2 more breaths. 1 more full deep inhale, and as you exhale, just very, very slowly come up. Just give that fascia a chance to slowly melt back into place. Slide the legs back together, move really slow. You might like to give the legs out a little shake again. And then we'll sit for a couple of moments just to tune into the sensations, feel the network of fascia melting back into place. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Start to just move our bodies a little bit before we wind back into a few more yin postures. So sitting where we are, we'll just bring our weight into our left hand and lift the right hip off the floor. Swap sides, lean into our right hand, lift the left hip off the floor. And we'll just transfer our weight gently from side to side. And start to feel as though this rippling motion is moving up the spine. So as the hips move one way, the spine gently ripples as an afterthought. Gentle transfer of weight, and the hips initiate this organic rippling motion that moves up the spine to the crown of the head. Couple more rounds from side to side, loosening up the spine. If you like, you can speed it up a little bit or just keep it really simple and slow. We'll come to a still. If you've got socks on like me, we'll take them off now and we'll make our way onto our mat. Coming into downward dog, we'll lift the hips up to the ceiling and just walk out through the feet. And we'll start to initiate this rippling twisting motion which will move up our spine. So as I straighten my left leg and as my right leg bends, my left hip presses back, and that initiates a movement in my spine. So vertebrae by vertebrae, I start to twist to look underneath my left arm. I straighten my right knee, and that presses my right hip back, and that initiates a movement vertebrae by vertebrae. I twist to look underneath my right arm. I move from side to side, feel the rippling motion move up and down the spine. And pressing back through both heels, we'll make our way onto all fours, come and sit back. And let's do a seated version of cat-cow. So as we exhale, slide the hands down towards the knees and we'll round through the spine, chin to chest. We inhale, bring the arms back, belly button pulls forward and open the heart to the ceiling. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, opening the heart to the ceiling. Just do 3 more rounds. Coming back to straight spine, we'll come onto all fours. Tuck the toes under. You can keep the knees on the floor, or you can hover the knees if you want to work a little harder. Then from here, we'll flip around to our right. Left leg slides forward. Sorry, left leg stays bent, right leg slides forward. We press down through our right hand, and we'll just press the hips up to come into Wild Thing just for 1 breath. coming down. Now if this is not feeling good for your wrists, you can just knock this left knee out to the side. Left hand finds the floor and just lift the hips from here. From here, drop the hips down, draw the knee in, and then we come over, other side. So we drop the hips down, right knee bent, left leg straight. We press up into Wild Thing, or you can just knock this right knee out of the way and come to bring the hips forward. Dropping down, we come over through the center, so either lifted knees or knees on the floor. And then we come over to the side, slide the right leg out, left leg stays bent. And you can either lift up into Wild Thing for a breath or knock the knee out of the way and press the hips forward from here with a little more support. Drop the hips down. We come back over. So have a little play, couple more rounds on each side. Keep it simple. Keep breathing deeply. Just adapt the practice to suit you. So either knees on the floor or knees lifted. And just explore this Wild Thing. Or instead of that, we're just knocking the knee out of the way. This left hand finds the floor. And press the hips forward. We fold back. And coming around, let's drop the hips back once we're even on both sides. Have a couple of breaths in Child's Pose. And then when you're ready, let's ripple forward. We'll bring the right knee forward. The left leg slides back. Swivel the right knee to the outside edge of the mat and start to walk the right ankle forward until, for most of us, the shin will be on a right ankle on our mat. If you can bring the foot forward so the knee sort of more at a right angle, or you might need to fold in the leg a little bit more, and then we bring the hips on top so the hips are square. So from here, we'll start to fold forward onto our forearms. Some of us might actually like to stay right up on the hands. We'll bring in a block to rest underneath the hips, just to remind the hips to stay square. Or you can pop your bolster underneath the hip. Or you can fold forward and come all the way down. So choose the variation that suits your body. Some of us might need to walk this left foot back a little bit further. The moment that you feel the hips sort of dropping down to either side, you need to readjust to keep things square, because it's the weight of the hips bearing down on the joint that are helping to open it up. Once you're there, once you've found the right spot, let's find the depth in our breath again. some of you might like to come back to the visualization of every inhale, drawing vitality and energy into the body. And every exhale, visualizing the tension melting away. Another nice little visualization is as you inhale, as you fill the lungs, just very, very subtly feel as though your spine is lengthening out and unraveling. And as you exhale, feel as though the spine is melting forwards. So I'm exaggerating that movement a little bit now. Inhale, unravel, exhale, collapse forward, but make it so subtle that only you can feel it, no one else can see it. So if you found that the sensation is getting a little bit too strong, remember to creep the hands back, pull back a little bit, find a new edge. Or if you feel like you can melt a little bit deeper now, start to creep a little bit lower. The whole time we're listening to those little signals our body's giving us. Let's stay here for 10 more deep breaths. Two more breaths. One more full deep inhale. Exhale, empty the lungs completely, and then just very, very slowly come up. And now we'll sink that hip down towards the floor. Just slowly unravel the legs out in front of us. And we'll just sit for a moment feeling into the sensation of the fascia melting back together in that joint. And then once everything's feeling back to normal, we'll lean over to the side and bring our legs the other way. So start with the left knee facing forward, the right leg slides back, and then we're bringing this left knee to the outside edge of our mat. Walk the heel forward, so for most of us, the shin will be at a diagonal down the mat. For some of us, we can bring the foot forward, so the leg's more at a right angle, and for some of us, we need to fold it back a little bit. But just make sure that your knee is not at the center of your mat or crossing in front of you. You want to keep the knee open so that when you fold forward, the knee's falling on the outside edge of the torso. From here, you can slide the right leg back a little further if that feels comfortable, and just check that the hips are not falling off to one side, they're square, so the weight bearing down on the hip is helping to open it. So if you're like this, or if you're like this, you need to adjust, bring yourself on top and let the weight drop down directly over the joint. Feel into that position. Usually we'd call this pose pigeon pose, but in the yin practice it's known as sleeping swan pose. Slowly, when you're ready, make your way down onto your forearms, maybe all the way down onto your belly. If you feel like you're going to lose that stability and you're having trouble keeping the hips square, that's when we use the block or the bolster and just pop it underneath the hip as a reminder to keep the hips square. We're slowly making our way to our edge now. Taking our time getting there. Keep listening to those signals your body is giving you. Know when you need to pull back a little bit. Know when you can melt a little bit further. Try and allow the whole body to relax. Close your eyes, find your deep sense of internal awareness. Once you've found the depth in your breath again, you can come back to your visualization and keep that process of training your mind to become more focused, present. And just choose to focus on the sensations, the breath, as the breath moves in and out of the lungs, noticing things like a sense of coolness as you inhale the breath, warmth traveling back up the throat through the nasal passage and onto the upper lip. Or you can stay with that visualization that we did before, where on the inhale we're visualizing energy and vitality moving into the lungs with the breath. Every exhale, we're visualizing the tension melting away from the left hip joint and glute. Or you can come back into that very, very subtle rippling motion with the spine. It's like the breath is moving the body just so subtly that only you can feel it. And it's like as we inhale, as the lungs feel, the spine elongates just slightly. And as we exhale, the spine collapses forward and we let go. So again, I'm exaggerating this movement, but it should be so subtle that I should not be able to see. It just feels like the breath is letting movement ripple subtly throughout the torso. We'll stay here for 5 more breaths. And arriving at one last breath here. Exhale completely. And then we'll just slowly make our way up. Remove the props from underneath us. Sink the left hip down towards the floor. And then we'll just slowly kick the legs out in front of us. Just sit there for a moment, feeling the network of fascia melting back into place. Really beautiful reset happening on so many levels. Feel into those sensations, especially around our hip joints. And once you're feeling back to normal, let's grab onto our bolster or our pile of pillows and we'll just place them over our legs, lift through our belly, and we'll just drape ourselves forward. If you've got tight hamstrings, you can just flip the pillows on the side so they're a little bit flatter and bend the knees as much as you need to. You can catch onto your toes or the outside of your feet, or you can catch onto the end of the bolster. Just find a position that's comfortable for your body. We've got them on top, and again you can catch onto your toes or the end of the bolster and just drape forward, and we'll breathe into the sensations here, tuning into the breath, finding a deep sense of internal awareness for 10 deep breaths. About 5 more breaths from here. Keep draping forward, the whole body is completely passive and still. 2 more breaths. And 1 more full deep inhale. Exhale completely. And then just very, very slowly come up, and we'll make our way onto our backs. And we'll bend the knees and just make sure the knees, the hips and the heels are in a parallel line down our mat. The arms can come out to the side. And the knees just drop over to the left and the head can look to the right. Let everything go for a moment. And then the knees drop over to the right, the head looks to the left. A couple more times we'll roll from side to side. And just tune into this releasing sensation through the neck and the lower back. And once you've done equal rounds on both sides, coming back to the center, we'll hug the knees into the chest. One last little release for the lower back. Little rock from side to side. Give the spine a little bit of a massage on the floor. And then we'll bring the legs long to come into our final resting pose, Shavasana. Close your eyes here. We'll just do a little body scan to notice how we're feeling after this yin practice. Notice the joints and the muscles that are feeling a new sense of freedom. And your awareness through all of the other subtle sensations, everything you can notice, take it all in. All of the internal sensations. once you've paid attention to all of those details, start to switch your attention so that you're focusing outwards now. You're still anchored in the present moment, you're still completely present. You're just taking in things like the sounds, temperature, any breeze moving over the skin, smells. Without needing to analyze or get distracted, just keep taking in the external sensations. And when you feel ready to move, start to wiggle the fingertips and toes. I like to reach the arms over the head and point through the toes and stretch down the whole body. And then take your time rolling over to your right side. Use your left hand to prop yourself up. And you can come to sit any way you prefer, and we'll close our practice with one Om. Sitting comfortably, take a deep breath in together. Thank you for coming to practice with me, everyone. I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful day. Bye.